Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Here's Eddie Frederick.
So glad you can join us. CARICOM Summit on in the Bahamas, full of vital issues. This story takes the lead in today's edition of Caribbean Perspective for Friday, 17th February 2023. Details when we return.
Hubbard's Motor Department Mount Gay and Hubbard's Tire Bay, located at the Building Supplies Compound in Grand Anse, are reminding the motoring public that another round for licensing and inspection has begun. Just arrived on new shipments of quality furrowed and torque tires to fit all makes and models of vehicles at competitive pricing. Shop early to avoid the hassle of long lines. WhatsApp them on 473-405-5482. Hubbard's, quality service, affordable prices.
Welcome back. Issues of the regional economy, food security, regional security, health, climate change, and climate financing will have taken center stage on the agenda of the 44th regular meeting of the Conference of the CARICOM Heads of Government that started in the Bahamas on the 15th of February. Glenn Bart of SKN Newsline reports.
CARICOM Secretary General Dr. Carla Barnett talks about the relevance of the issues for the CARICOM heads when they meet for the first time in 2023.
We'll be talking about the CSME in particular as well, because taking note of progress there is important. Climate finance, climate change is important because we are, as we speak, there in the brunt of the impact of climate change. At the same time, we're having great difficulty accessing financing on the from the international community to treat with the impact of climate change on our economy. So those things are really very important, and we're expecting to have good discussions about these, yes.
Prime Minister Dr. Terence Drew will lead the St. Kitts and Nevis delegation that will include Minister of Foreign Affairs Dr. Denzel Douglas, as well as permanent secretaries from the Office of the Prime Minister and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Larry Vaughan, and Kay Bass, head of the Regional Integration and Diaspora Unit. Glenn Bart reporting for SK Newsline.
In the meantime, CARICOM Chair Philip Davis and CARICOM Secretary General Dr. Carla Barnett participated in a press conference giving a preview of this week's meeting. Lidon Davis of ZNS News leads us off.
During the opening press conference for CARICOM, Prime Minister the Honourable Philip Davis outlined the overall focus of the 44th Heads of Government CARICOM meeting and the value of this conference set to begin early Wednesday morning.
Our discussion of national security and migration issues will include specific consideration of the crisis in Haiti. Climate change and financing will be a central focus. The Bridgetown Initiative and its role in generating funding to assist developing nations as they adapt to climate change will serve as the launch pad for our discussions. CARICOM welcomes the opportunity to engage with the President of Africa Export-Import Bank, the President of the Development Bank of Latin America, the Director General of the World Trade Organization, the Prime Minister of Canada, and the President of the Ukraine, who will deliver a video message.
Secretary General of CARICOM, Dr. Carla Barnett, talked about Haiti's presence here at CARICOM and the overall availability of food in the Caribbean.
The representatives of Haiti at the official heads meeting would be the representatives of the government who are supposed to be here. There's an ongoing conversation that CARICOM is having about bringing all of the stakeholders together in Haiti. And I am expecting that matter will be further discussed among the heads when they meet. We did that study along with the World Food Program last year, which indicated that we are all food insecure. And this came to the forefront at the height of the COVID-19 crisis when the shipping issues, the disruptions meant that many of our countries had issues ensuring that there was a constant supply of food. So we are all food insecure.
And when it comes to the COVID-19 crisis and the overall healthcare system in the Caribbean, Secretary General Barnett had this to say.
All of our systems are indeed under stress because of the diversion of resources from other kinds of provision of health services to dealing with the COVID crisis since 2019. So there is a conversation that's going to be had. It's a really very important issue because a lot of the gains that many of us would have made, particularly in vaccinations, because you know that there's been a reduction in vaccinations partly due to the turning of the attention away from regular vaccinations to the COVID crisis. So there is a huge issue, yes. And it is something that the heads are going to have to be discussing, not only at this meeting, but subsequently as well.
The plenary sessions of the 44th CARICOM Heads of Government meeting will come to an end on Friday. For the Bahamas Tonight, I'm LaDon Davis.
Canada is facing increasing pressure to help Haiti as Prime Minister Justin Trudeau prepares to meet with Caribbean leaders at the CARICOM conference in the Bahamas. The country has been in crisis since the assassination of Haitian President Jovenel Moïse. More in this news item.
Justin Trudeau arrived for a meeting of Caribbean leaders met by the men and women the Bahamas hopes to send to Haiti, police, and/or members of their defense force. Canada is facing pressure to do more.
Haiti is already a failed state.
Former Governor General Michaëlle Jean came to Canada from Haiti as a refugee. She told CBC News' Power and Politics, Haiti should be a key focus of the summit.
They cannot do it alone. They will need also Canada to be on board and to support, these actions.
After decades of corruption and poverty, Haiti has descended into chaos since the assassination of Haitian President Jovenel Moïse in 2021. Gangs now control parts of the country.
Reports come out regularly of the daily horrors that Haitians have to live through in the gang-controlled areas. Mass rapes, repetitive mass rapes, killings of all sorts, police officers getting killed and burned and having their body parts cut off.
All this is prompting calls for a Caribbean-led security force to intervene, but Caribbean nations want outside help, including from Canada.
What we in CARICOM have come to appreciate is that we do not have the resources to be able to deal with the Haiti problem ourselves, and we do need outside help.
Before Trudeau left for the Bahamas, he had this to say.
We're also going to be talking seriously about Haiti. Obviously, regional support and regional participation in all the work that Canada is doing down in Haiti is important.
From those comments, it's not clear how Canada will be stepping up, but Trudeau has said any response to the ongoing situation must be Haitian-led. David Thurton, CBC News, Nassau.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick.
The twin island of Trinidad and Tobago has offered to help the Caribbean, including Guyana, monetize their oil and gas resources. HGP Shamar Aline tells us more.
Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Dr. Keith Rowley, on a Tuesday, said that his country is open to discussions with the Caribbean regions to monetize their oil and gas resources. The Prime Minister made the invitation during the 2023 International Energy Conference and exhibition being held at the Marriott Hotel in Georgetown, Guyana. Over 100 years in the petroleum sector, Dr. Rowley talked up his country's undertaking with oil and gas exploration activities over the years.
We would also wish to assist you in developing programs to meet necessary training needs of your energy personnel. Trinidad and Tobago possesses a number of non-governmental and governmental agencies that have been meeting the human resource development needs of the energy and industrial sectors of Trinidad and Tobago, as well as emerging oil and gas economies.
Linking energy and industrial transformations to a collaborative economic strategy will ensure that the region makes the most out of its abundant oil and gas resources, the Twin Islands Prime Minister posited.
I am confident that the spirit of community which has been the key to our success as the oldest surviving integration movement in the developing world, will foster and augment the level of cooperation that can make the Caribbean an economic force in the region.
Moreover, Dr. Rowley added that the regional energy landscape does not equip any single country to meet the energy security requirements of the region. As such, he noted that a cooperative approach allows for shared risk and diversified perspectives. This, he noted, has been his country's approach. To this end, he referenced the recent agreements with various governments, including Guyana, in the energy field. On the energy security and resource shortage concerns front, Dr. Rowley said the region needs to have an energy mix that capitalizes on domestically and regionally available and economically viable sources. The conference and exhibition is being held under the theme Harnessing Energy for Development. It would run from February 14 to 17 and facilitate the exchange of ideas, propositions, and plans for fundamental advances in the energy sector. Reporting for HGP Nightly News, Shamar Allen.
TVJ's Javon Keys, in the meantime, reports on Jamaica's $1 trillion budget tabled in Parliament, the largest to date.
The largest budget in Jamaica's history was tabled in the lower house today by Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark. Our business reporter Javon Keys starts off our coverage this evening with a closer look at the numbers. Javon.
Thank you so much, Giovanni. So $1 trillion, a big number there. That's how much the government plans to spend in the next fiscal year. As you said earlier, it's the most any government in Jamaica's history has set aside to spend in terms of a round or nominal figure. Now, for comparison, last year, the government tabled a budget of $912 million, and there have been, of course, 3 supplementary estimates thereafter, which brought up the budget to $998 billion, driven, of course, mainly by the spend on wages. Now, let's look at the main headings. Recurrent expenditure is about $946 billion. The non-debt portion of that is $665.7 billion. Of course, this is the money set aside to fund the operations of the various ministries and covering wages and compensation. In fact, the single largest allocation is for compensation. $338 billion has been set aside for that, with the sum considering the completion and implementation, of the second phase of the new public sector wage regime. Now, of course, those wage discussions are continuously ongoing.
I should ask you, Javon, how much is the government spending on debt?
That's a good question. It's interesting to know that the government has actually allocated less money to debt repayment for the new fiscal year. $280.61 billion is going to servicing debt compared to $313 billion earmarked for the current fiscal year, which ends in March. Now, here's Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark during his brief presentation today.
Debt service at 9.5% of GDP, which reflects both amortization, i.e. principal repayments, and interest payments, reflect action taken over prior years to reduce the debt burden, as that 9.5% of GDP was significantly higher only a decade ago. With interest payments this year of $155 billion being fully financed by revenue.
Now, Dr. Clark says the debt is on a downward path, which could see it hitting a new milestone.
The overall public debt is estimated to end the current fiscal year as at March 31st, 2023, at 79.7% of GDP. This is expected to decline further to 74.2% of GDP by fiscal year 2023-24. Should it be achieved, Madam Speaker, that is the 74.2% at the end of this fiscal year, it would mark the first time since the nationalization of the financial sector crisis through FinSAC in the latter half of the 1990s that debt has entered the domain of pre-FinSAC levels.
Now let's look at another major line item. That's capital expenditure. That's money for major road and infrastructure projects. $75.3 billion has been set aside for that. Of course, work on the Southern Coastal Highway project continues, with the Mapen leg set to be complete by August. Now, of course, those other roadworks are going to continue. We have the leg from St. Thomas as well, also underway.
So people will be asking, Javon, where will all the money be coming from? So straight to you, how will this be funded?
And that's a good question. Dr. Clark mentioned that they're expecting to see a continued increase in revenues coming in. In fact, 889 billion is expected to come from taxes and some other miscellaneous receipts, about 15 billion from capital revenue to include the sale of land, and the rest of the budget will be covered by grants and loan receipts. Now, of course, the Standing Finance Committee of Parliament will be looking at examining the budget, of course, and the budget debate will start on March 7, and of course, we'll continue telling you more about the budget as the week progresses.
All right. Thank you so much, Javon Keys, our business reporter.
Hubbard's is once again innovating the way you shop with its new online store, providing 24-hour shopping convenience. You can shop now for appliances, hardware, houseware, building material, and more. Free delivery island-wide. Start shopping now at hubbards.hardware.gd. Safe, convenient, reliable.
Hi, I'm Eddie Frederick, wishing you a restful weekend. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean. In the meantime, please continue to log on to CaribbeanPerspective.com for more daily news and more.